Hey, everybody. It is the Greg at the Collingwood Arts Center on Motivational Monday. I am Jack to the highest Jackticity and very privileged to be sitting in front of you. If you're watching this right now, I really want to thank you. This is good. This is going to be good stuff. I want to give you meat and potato, or it's food for thought. You kind of do the dishes all week long on this stuff I'm talking about. And last week we talked about routine, the pros and cons of routine. Now, I'm not saying, if you watch it, you heard me talk about the bed. If you make your bed or you don't make your bed, but have a routine. Other routine, because you can't just be living reactional to the day. You have to put intention out there. You have to get your day prepared mentally for the day. So you should have some kind of route. I think people just get up and they don't show up. Showing up isn't just about making it to the building. We're not applauding you because you found the building. Showing up and then showing off. And then showing off isn't just a one-time thing. It's multiple throughout the day. You should be showing off and showing up. Being present all day long, looking for those moments that you can excel and be on part of the I would say part of the solution too, not the problem. But being present though, being in your power. That's what it's about. So that's the pros and cons. Last week we talked about of routine. This week we're going to talk about body language, man. I love this one. Oh, man, I just got back from New York with my grandson and a good friend of mine, artist friend, Steve Conine. So a couple of art guys get together here in New York City. It was just a great weekend. My grandson came along, and we were sitting there in Little Italy eating dinner, having some good pasta. I noticed there's three girls sitting across the street on the steps of a church or whatever. And I said, Cam, this is a good observation of body language. Two of the girls were sitting just like men with their legs open. But the girl in the middle, she had her legs crossed. Now, that says to me as a man that either she is more in touch with her feminine to me. Her feminine energy. She's more in touch with me, whether it be that she's already had her menstrual cycle or not. And I'm not trying to get funny here, folks. I mean, this is we're talking body language, because a woman knows she's a woman, and then a little girl doesn't. And that's what I was trying to show my grandson. That you need to watch people's body language because it'll tell you a lot, and it does. Have you ever heard of the 7-38-55 rule? Have you ever heard of that? 7% of what is words. 7% when people see you. 38% is your tone of your word. The tone. A lot of people don't have any. You ever heard of monotone? Everybody's just monotone, just flat tone, no energy. They could set themselves on fire and nobody would come. That kind of tone. But then you have life in your tone. And then how about the body language, which is 55%? So you're conveying to other people around you, 55% of what you're conveying to other people is your body language. The way they see you is through your body language. I did a test with a friend. I'm going to do it with you right now. You're probably just sitting there in front of your computer. We're all hunched over anymore. Come on, think about how much hunched over you are. Put your shoulders back, man. Just do this once. Just stretch them out. Get your shoulders back in your neck and stand tall for a second. And see if that doesn't shift your energy inside and make you feel just a little bit better. It's really funny. I was reading a vampire book a long time ago, and it was they talked about, the vampires were talking about how much they hated earthlings because we live in so much fear. Our body language shows that. Our tonality is weak. We don't even know how to talk to anybody anymore because of our social media. That's even gotten worse. But, and then, like I said, I'm not a great words person. I am not by name. I'll tell you right now, I'm not a great word person. But my tonality and my body language says totally different. Totally different. So what is your body language saying? Are you fear-based? Are you hunched over all the time? Are you looking at your phone? You know what I mean? Do you walk with a pep in your step? I was watching a video the other day. It was cracking me up, man. I was watching a video of me, my buddy, my artist friend, Steve sent me a video of me in New York City walking. I said, damn, I walk like my brother Jimmy. I got to stop that, man. I'm going to start pointing my toes in more. It looks weird, I think, to me. It's like your feet are out kind of thing. I watch guys like that, and I want to point more of my toes in a little bit more. So I'm making a conscious effort, because the way you walk, the way you enter a room, before you enter a room, anytime you're going to enter a room, I don't care if it's a business meeting or if it's a club on the, whatever bar, you should always just take a moment mentally to just say, what, I'm putting my energy out there. I'm putting my energy out there. My energy is actually, opening the door for me, leading him to, and never just walk into some place and immediately look for a place to sit. I go to a bar, I walk in, you stand at the door for a little bit. You let people see you. You're not hiding and running to be a wallflower. I read a really interesting article about Tom Cruise, that he's very confident in who he is, they say. And one of the things he does, though, is when he goes over somebody's house, he will go around and he touch all the chairs, and he'll sit in all the different in chairs. Maybe he's like me. Maybe, I collect chairs. I love chairs. You can see them sitting in authentic bowl chair from the early 1900s. And I love chairs. But I have people that come over, or even come in my studio. They'll immediately just sit down in one chair and they never move. They come over to your house and they immediately just sit down. They find that place, and that's just a wallflower mentality. Even especially in my studio. Don't you want to walk around and look at my art? I don't want to touch anything. You don't have to touch anything. Just look at the art. Of course I don't want you to touch my art. Reverence to that. Genuflect maybe, but not touch it. That's too good. But, we need to quiet our thoughts when we walk in a room, too. They say that you will vibrate your aura, and your vibration will increase the less thinking you're doing. See, if you have that all the time thinking kind of stuff, it's constantly, you're thinking about what you're thinking about all the time. That's what you should be doing. So you can correct that. You pay attention to that. And you still that through meditation. That's the only way you still the monkey. The monkey jumps from branch to branch. One thought here, one thought there. You won't believe some of the craziest thoughts you'll have. I had one last night. My friend said, don't be saying that. And I'm like, I know, that was weird how that came out of me. Why that thought was there. It was an ugly thought too. So our thoughts aren't good. So it's like, you just let it go. Let go. You just let it go, and you just think about something positive. But we have to quiet our thoughts. They say the person that can quiet their mind the most is the most attractive in the room. Now, people will say then, well, yeah, of course she's the quietest, so the quietest person is always more attractive. Well, there is some swag to that. I definitely agree with that. You could say there's a lot of swag in that. But I also say, if you got something to say, the best lovers in life were always storytellers. All the great lovers were always storytellers. Right. If you don't have a story to tell, then shut up. But there has to be somebody that stands in the room and tells the story. If not, it's a fucking boring evening. So when I come into the room, I tell stories. Stories about when I went to Spain, stories about this, stories about that, stories about my art. I'm a storyteller. And you all should be storytellers, but you have to get a story first. So what's your story? What is your story? What are you doing on Monday morning? It's time to wake up. It's time to look for your bone. Look for that bone. Look for that aha moment today. Look for your manna. In the Bible, they would look for their manna every morning. Look for your manna, your money. Look for that manna. But it's not rushing either, though. It's quiet mind. It's not rushing. I love the song Sade, Maximum Joy. He says in this song. But I'm going to read it here. He says, he moves in space with minimum waste and maximum joy. I got ahead of myself there a little bit. He moves in space with minimum waste. He's smooth, man. And maximum joy. He's a happy guy, man. He's a happy guy. It's really kind of funny. Here's a study that was done. That women are more attractive than men that don't smile. And men are attractive to women that do smile. Now, why is this? Well, number one, the women are looking at the men that don't smile as bad boys. They're the bad boys. And men just love a woman that smiles. But this guy has maximum joy. I guess you don't have to have a smile to have maximum joy. But that's Sade's song right there. It's a smooth operator. But man, before you enter the room, always have that little moment, that session with yourself. But you should visualize your whole day anyways in the morning. You should don't be living reactional. Don't be living reactional to the day. Live in the moment. Put intentions out there in the morning. And I think the thing about the routine, I wanted to say earlier, and I forgot about this. Get out of the routine of looking at your phone when you first wake up. I do not look at my phone for at least a half hour after I've been awake, or 40 minutes after I've been awake. I start my morning, I'm going to let you know about my routine, because I think this is important. 10 minutes of gratitude as soon as I wake up. I'm going to be incorporating some stretch moves too while I'm in bed, But I'm talking about just first thing, it's about grateful. I got another day ahead of me. I am thankful. I am free at last. I can do me. I'm thankful for my plants. I'm thankful for my pillows. I got eyes to hear, eyes to see, ears to hear. But most people listen, but they don't hear. Most people look, but they don't see. That's why I'm working on a puzzle. I got a little routine now, working on a puzzle just to exercise my eyes to see. I like taking drawing classes for that too. But getting up in that morning routine, I don't look at my phone. It's always at 10 minutes of gratitude. Then I immediately go to the chair and I meditate for 20 minutes. So it's a half hour of putting the right things in. Not all that garbage in, because garbage in, garbage out. They're programming us through this scrolling. They're really programmed. We got to be really mindful of all this bullshit scrolling. We got to get off the scrolling stuff. And we got to get in the rolling stuff. Rolling what? Rolling something. Wake and bake, motherfucker. Let's get your life in order. When I smoke weed, it convicts me. It makes me, like, I got to get going. I can't be sitting here and just be lazy. A laziness starts in the mind. It starts in the mind. But I think it's really important that we get up and we get moving. And again, stretching exercise is a big, vital part of a good morning. Get some sun and get some grounding in first thing. Get out there in the sunlight. They say the best thing for you to watch the sunrise. And your eyes, it just does so much for you. And of course you want to get out there and get that vitamin D. Not what the doctors tell you, and I'll talk about that later. But there is a time in the day that you should be out there getting vitamin D, and there's a time when you shouldn't be going out and getting vitamin D. We'll talk about that later. But remember, 7-38-55 rule. 7% of what you say is your words. 38% is your tone. And 55% of what you communicate to other people is your body language. Presidents always, and kings always sit with their arms out like that. Girls always play with their hair when they like a guy. It's little subtle things like that. But again, we look but we don't see. Aha moments are when your eyes are wide open. And it's a beautiful Monday to start a great week. It's not Blue Monday. It's a great Monday. And it's a great Monday to be with what? The Greg here at the Collingwood Arts Center. Motivational Monday. We'll catch you next Monday. Watch your body language. Be mindful of it. Shoulders back. Walk tall. Ciao.